So, hello. Thanks for turning up. You might have been redirected here from the original stream recording. I've just got a better, higher quality upload here from the source. So, I just want to start with a few housekeeping things. Just want to mention that this stream is currently on YouTube, but you can find us on Discord and Twitch, and you're open to comment all throughout those streams, and I'll try and butt in. If you catch us live, I'll try and butt in with any questions at a convenient time for the Masterclass speaker. You're watching the Off World Live Wednesday Masterclasses as part of Bounty. Bounty means become one with the internet. Bounty is a place where I just want to get a load of information comprised together from all the talented people around working in this area of kind of burgeoning real-time technologies, not necessarily just live streaming, but performance, installation, art, creative stuff, film. Bounty is the place to learn all of that stuff. These masterclasses are on at least 2 Wednesdays a month, hopefully. Every couple of weeks on a Wednesday, we try and get some awesome guest speaker in. If you're in on the Discord, you'll probably be muted on joining the voice channel, but we generally flip the permissions at the end so we can have an open discussion with everyone and we can just hang out and talk about what's happened in the masterclass. If you don't catch a live one, be able to watch a re-upload, which will stay permanently on YouTube. That'll be what you're watching now. Any assets, project files, and further links relating to the masterclass speaker will be included in the descriptions. Today, as you might have seen, we'll be taking tips from Woody. I came across Woody from his awesome checklist for setting up live link for Face. He's a massive help on that. His YouTube is well worth following because he often uploads tips of fun stuff relating to virtual production, filmmaking. He's been a filmmaker for years, for like 10 years, so he's well versed in this stuff. Filmmaking, animation, largely based around Unreal. Woody also has a Discord of his own where you can find a lot of similar kind of content and lots of tips and a great community over there. We'll link that in the description too. You can find a lot of fellow VTubers on there. And Woody also streams on Twitch, and that will also be linked in the description. He's got great talent for creating stylized animation, taking it into game scenarios, game developer as well. And that's what we're going to learn today, taking your animation into Unreal. So about time I pass on to Woody. Enjoy the rest of the stream. Please show Woody some support. Cheers.
All right. Hello, everybody. How's it going? So my name is Woody of the Woody Devs channel. So I'm an Unreal developer and filmmaker with 10 years of experience in filmmaking and content creation. For those, basically for the last 2 years, I've been spending my time pretty much exclusively creating interesting content and outcomes in Unreal Engine. So I'm a big believer that we can use this new technology to create more interesting work and more personal work. So like for me, it's been an exercise in like trying to like kind of recreate my life in the engine, like putting myself into a space where I am a digital person. And as that digital person, kind of curating bits of my life or like sharing stories or doing cool interviews in a way that lets me be more human with people than I get to be in real life sometimes. And that's sort of the heart of it. But today we're here to talk about the technology. So that's, we got to start somewhere, right? We got to actually make the tools in order to make these really cool experiences. So today I'm here to talk to you about control rig. So what is a control rig, and also why is it spelled so incorrectly? Let's move that down here. Have my notes just off screen here. So basically the question is, what is a control rig? And we got Gloria in the chat, so I'm very happy to be completely rebutted in my definition of a control rig. But a control rig, just like speaking in general, basically, a control rig is an overlaid set of handles, sliders, and easily manipulable exposed parameters, basically. In animation, a control rig is a way to more easily access the bones on a rig and move them around. Other controls can be made too to access things like blend shapes and just other features of the rig that you would want to animate. So for example, Blender has a control rig system. You can manually create meshes and use those as handles for your bones. Or if you use a system like Rigify or AutoRig Pro, you might have a plugin that will actually handle making those controls for you, because it can be a little bit time consuming. So in Unreal, we don't really get that, but we do have a lot of those we have in Unreal, we have a system that is a control rig that can be used in a traditional animation control rig way. And that's kind of mostly what I'm going to focus on today. But it can do other things too. And this is what's really interesting, is that it's a programmable control rig that can interface in real time. So let's talk about it. So did I spell it wrong every single slide? That's amazing. So what is a control rig in Unreal? So Unreal Control Rig is a totally different animal, at least in terms of its possibility. So we can insert Unreal's control rig technology at any point in the Unreal animation pipeline, whether that's like a procedural walking that's happening during a game or a movie project where we want to animate everything by hand. Like, it doesn't matter. We can use Unreal Engine's control rig at any point in time. It's this really flexible tool that exists to be able to like do scripted animation interfacing, if that is not too much techno mumbo jumbo for you. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about how I use control rig, because I started from like not using it all and just using some of the more basic tools in Unreal through their animation blueprint system. And I've moved on to like kind of using it for everything, which is great. And even what you're seeing right now with me live on stream talking to you, I am in control. Like, I am powered by control rig as we speak. So let's talk about it. I have a couple examples here. So what you're seeing is a really great example of me using my VR controllers with control rig. This is like an early dev log for the system that I use regularly on my YouTube channel now. Like, basically, this is really rough, and this is like my character was having some problems back then, but this is like a VR-based control rig, and I'm using control rig to take information off those VR controllers, which is getting sent through like a blueprint I programmed, and then through like some interfaces and stuff, I'm feeding all of that transform data here into my control rig, which is what's actually powering all the animation. So all of those little cubes, those are like blueprints that are running in the game, which I can hide, and the all of the squares are like powering these transforms, which go to control rig, and control rig runs live, like I said. So a lot of times when I'm live, either on Twitch or on YouTube, or I'm doing an interview, by the way, had an interview with our own very lovely Hardcore Rick recently. It was a really great time. But during that interview, I was running this system, or a more advanced version of this system. So I also use it for animation. So like, here's an example of a film this one's actually kind of on hold right now. It's like sort of on the back burner or the back alley. I'm not really sure which, because like the burner is like a little dim right now. But this is an example of like an FKIK switcher rig that I built that I could use for this character. This is a character I made myself for this film project. So currently, let me show you one other example. So this is a game that I made recently. It's sort of a non-traditional game. I suffered pretty severely with ADHD. It's kind of a whole thing. So like, I have a hard time focusing, and I have a hard time getting tasks done, because sometimes I'm like, hey, great, let's build a whole control rig. And sometimes I'm like, let's just like sit on Twitter all day. So I made this game that would basically interpret my to-do list every day and turn it into a fully visual RPG with a class system and something I could play with friends. So I used control rig when I made this game because every character in the game shared the same skeleton. So I could reuse the same control rig every single time. So, you can see I built a control rig here that like, you can see the way I've moved the character's like hand in. Like, I have a control that will move the fist. I have IKs on the arm, so I'm not like messing with the elbows too much. It's not the best example. This one was sort of made somewhat in haste. And then lastly, here's what I've got going on right now is I'm doing this series called Animation Mondays. And let's see here. Are you not playing? There we go. And this is like an ongoing project where I am, making films about experiences I've had. And on Mondays on Twitch, I'm streaming the process of using control rig and a bunch of other animation systems in Unreal to make more linear content than what I'm doing with streams or what I'm doing with motion capture. And in every case with filming, I'm using Control Rig twice. I'm using Control Rig to be able to power my character's animation in my timeline in a traditional animation way. And I'm also using Control Rig for the motion capture. So in Unreal, without ever leaving the program, I can turn on my motion capture equipment, power it up, record my motion capture, all in Unreal using Take Recorder, and then take that data and send it to a Control Rig and then edit the animation that I created. So that's kind of what we're going to do today, actually. So we're going to do a little bit of that. I'm going to show you how I'm using multiple Control Rigs to record motion capture and Take Recorder and convert that to an FK rig today. We'll go through the basics of how Control Rig works in Unreal. We're not going to get too deep into it. Spoiler alert, we're going to have to code a little bit. But it's fine, really. Unreal code is not a big deal, especially, it's never been easier. So also recently for those of you who might be already familiar with Control Rig, because it's something that can be a little bit laborious. Recently on stream, I discovered a new way to make Control Rigs quickly. So I'll show you how you can start animating directly in Unreal without wasting a lot of time generating your Control Rigs, which in previous workflows that people have been talking about online used to kind of take all day. So we'll do a little bit of animating in Sequencer if we have time, and then maybe we could explore how an IK works, something like that. This is pretty broad and a good overview, but we'll have some shout outs to some more advanced secrets inside Control Rig. So those of you who are new can get your basics down, and those of you who are pros at this can have something to sink your teeth into a little bit. And hopefully, if all goes well, we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. And without further ado, let's get started. So let me pull up Unreal here. How's everything looking? I'm mostly I'm dialed in. Let me just check Discord real quick to make sure that we don't have any problems of any kind. I think everything is looking all right. Really great. Okay, Rick says we're doing all right. So if Rick says so, it sounds like we're good to go. So here, let's stop using PowerPoint, and I'm gonna just take you into my little virtual environment here. So this is my virtual set where I create all sorts of kinds of crazy things. This is my interview space where I do interviews. I have a lot of blueprints going on here. I coded most of this space myself, but today we're just going to use it as a little bit of a backdrop for our animation. And so we'll go into this free space over here, but it's a little dark. So we'll just for fun, just to kick things off, we're gonna, we'll create a little point light back here, and then we can get a little bit more sense of our space and whatnot. I'm gonna make this source radius bigger so that it's, a little bit more flattering. Oh, that's really big. That's bigger than humanly possible. So anyways, we just got a little bit more lighting, which is good. Now you can see I have two different versions of myself here. Actually, it's a little ridiculous by the time you're seeing me on screen and then seeing two of me on screen at the same time. This is wild, right? This is more Woody than anyone ever asked for, which is, what can I say? I try to not live life as a narcissist, but every once in a while you find yourself and yourself and yourself on screen together, and hey, what are you going to do about it? Anyways, so there's a good reason for this, besides the jokes. That the way this is set up is I have a blueprint here that contains a static mesh. If you're familiar with Unreal, you kind of understand blueprints, kind of understand static meshes. I know y'all at Off World Live have been digging in heavy and all this stuff for a while. I've seen Rick's tutorials. Y'all are no strangers to this. So we've got a blueprint here that contains a static mesh component, and this is going to be our mocap guy. And then we have a regular static mesh here with no functionality plugged in, and that's what we're going to use for animation. So we're going to do this live and see what happens. This is, I was coding up into the wee hours trying to get my VR equipment back online, and I was hoping that maybe that I could do a full body capture for you today. But we're going to see if we can start with just my little Leap Motion controller here. You can see I have my, my fingers here through the Leap Motion, and they look pretty nice. So I'm pretty excited about that. I am going to, however, have to unplug them from my capture computer and move it to my other Unreal computer here. So Yeah, cool. So, let's see. So we've got that going on here. So if I just start up playing the scene, does Unreal hate me? No. Okay, cool. The first thing I do is always just like get the screen size right, and then let's see. I'm gonna press a key so that I can start piloting my actor here. So I have my actor, and you can see my fingers start coming up, and it looks great. So that's cool. So that's working just fine. Just gonna double check to make sure I'm not seeing anything from Rick here. Sorry for your audio troubles, man. It would be really great to be quipping back and forth with you right now. So basically, we're going to need to use Take Recorder. And if you've never used Take Recorder before, it's a separate plugin. If you started Unreal with production level settings, it's going to be included, I think. And if not, you're going to have to go into plugins. You're going to go Take Recorder, and then you're going to have to make sure it's enabled. But it's one of those things that kind of bundles for a lot of different Unreal builds. So what I'm going to do without digging too far into Take Recorder here, like there's, you can dive into Take Recorder and make it more complicated, but because you want to optimize it because you don't want to get too much data. For this one, we're just going to go really fast. So I'm going to just drop my character into Take Recorder here, and then I'm going to actually just record in the viewport so that I'm not confusing myself. I'm going to press my key to go in here and control my character, and let me click out of here, and then I'm going to press the record button. It's going to give me a little countdown here. So then I'm going to reach out back here. I'm going to finger guns or something, something like that. And you see I've got problems with my finger guns because these leap motions aren't perfect. And then let me press stop. So we have a new Take Record. So we can click here and browse to. So we'll click it. And then we've got it opened up here. That's you want to make sure that you've stopped Unreal first. I got a little ahead of myself there. And then when we open this this VR tracker aligner thing here, we've got a bunch of stuff going on. But when we go to my character component here, I have actually saved a new animation. So this is really cool. I'm going to press this unlock button here to get at it. And then I'm going to grab properties, and then I'm going to find it here in the sequence here. So this cinematics file, the way Take Recorder likes to store things, I'm happy for you, Take Recorder, do your thing. So I needed to do that to find my animation sequence here. I could also look it up through the folders. But then if I go into Unreal, try not to get too technical here. It's about to get real magical. It's about to get real magical. So if I go to my sequencer folder here, so I have my, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like Mega Steak Man's just trying to put me in the hot seat and quiz me up here. Love that guy. The Mega Steak Man and I are very chummy. The yeah. So I don't really know. I kind of use I guess I'm sort of this is somewhat actively in the process of discovery. One of the things about Unreal is cool is nobody completely knows what they're doing. And if they completely know what they're doing, then they probably work at Epic. So I'm assuming, yes, there is stuff about compression settings, because you do want to think about how many keyframes you're generating and how much data is coming off. And that's something I'm still learning. So I'm not sure, but I'm if that's a loaded question and Mega Steak Man, my buddy, wants to DM me later and tell me how to use that thing, I would be overjoyed. Yeah, sure. I don't know a ton about it. We're going to stay in the control rig lane as much as possible here, because there are other things I would change about Take Recorder in a production environment. We're just trying to go fast because, we have a limited amount of time. We're halfway through this session. So and we still haven't really touched control rig. So, yeah, turbo mode. Let's go. So I'm going to grab my new animation here. I think it's this one. Yeah. So, and you can see everything we just recorded, I have access to now. So we just recorded that stuff. It comes right back in. And yeah, that light looks terrible. I want to delete that now. I'm gonna kill that thing if it's like, oh yeah, just made it too big, I guess. Here we go. Yeah, still looks pretty bad, but okay. You know, as long as we can see, that's good. So here's my little guy here, and moving my hands around. So that's really cool. We have this animation, we can play it back. Like that in itself is revolutionary, right? Like I literally did mocap with my hands and then, you know, just plopped it in the scene and I can record it and keep it. And that's awesome. I love it. And at the same time, I would like to be able to do more with this, right? So like there's a bunch of stuff I don't like about this. There's this procedural fade here up into using my hands. Like I could make that look a little less weird. I'm not actually going to do too much fixing with this because it's going to, like, you're going to see a lot of stuff. So a little pretty baked in, but like we might use different kinds of rigs to make a lot of this stuff go a little bit easier. Like currently I have an FK rig set up. Let's talk about it. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Enough. What I'm going to do for this is I'm going to go to actually the object itself. I'm going to go to bake to control rig, and I have this control rig here. And there's not really like a ton to mess with. Once again, this is stuff I'm still learning how to do this the right way, but this is my current method, is to just kind of leave things at default settings. And because, you know, you might want things like reduce keys and stuff like that. I don't have that set up because like you can get too many keys. I mean, that might be helpful. But for this one, we're just going to say, give us all the keys. So suddenly I have my everything set up in control rig. And you might say, well, what changed? Now you got a bunch of funny boxes over yourself, Woody. Well, you know, what's changed is that we are starting to deal with things powered by keyframes instead of powered by an animation asset. So you can see my hands moving around here, and you'll also notice that my fingers went away. So that's interesting, right? What's going on with that? So this rig doesn't actually have any finger inputs. So that means that like all the really fun mocap we did with the fingers just went away, which is really sad. But as I was saying, I was kind of hoping to make this a more of a full body VR demo than I was like a finger animation demo. Finger animation's its own thing. Mega Steak Man has a really cool finger animation system. Y'all can ask him about that because I think he's scheduled to do one of these talks coming up. So we are basically free to like edit this here. So like this is my hand now. This box is now my hand. So if I like change it, like I can change it in the animation. Now I just did something weird because I just created one keyframe here out of 1,000. So like, you know, that's no good. Those of you who are already animators, you will know that I have erred by, in a way, by creating this many keyframes. And keyframe reduction and maybe compression settings and stuff like that can get you into better shape with stuff. This is still a lot of discovery level things for me, at least, but I'm really excited about this whole workflow. So let's say I got the hand up too high. So like, let's say I want to change that. Let's say I don't want them to, you know, I want them to be even. You can see I have like one hand higher than the other, and I don't feel like the mocap really got me right when I did that. So I can just take, you know, a bunch of my keyframes here. I can take my location Z, which is the up down in Unreal, and then I can like kind of just go into the curves editor here, and I can just like grab everything and I can just pull them down. So let's see. Am I missing something here? Oh, I'm just not moving it very much. This is like a very tight scale. So like, that's interesting. So typically we would see an adjustment and a change there. The other way to do it is to just like manually change your location. Also, this is an FK rig, so like actually changing your location is going to look terrible. If this was an IK rig, that would be no problem. For those of you who aren't familiar with those terms, an IK rig is powered by the end of the whatever is controlling it, and an FK rig is a series of interdependent locked rotation mechanisms that all work together like this. So in this case, I work with IK rigs a lot. So in this case, I totally need to handle this the FK way instead of the IK way. So I'm still like intent upon changing the height of my hand, but I'm going to do that through a change in the rotation. So you can see I had a big rotation change here. So this is helpful because we kind of need to figure out what axis is the change on. It might not be as simple as position because we're not sure exactly what rotator, that we're grabbing. Maybe some old animation pros just have like the bones for it, but I'm coming at this with a fresh set of eyes. So the thing I want to do is like reduce the height, so I can find the easiest way actually is going to just be to like reduce here and then see what changes. So I can see that all of those keyframes just changed. So let's see if I can kind of reduce them there. Yeah. So that's cool. We have like a weird jump off point here. So like we need to change more than that. We probably need to go up until this big dive over here. It's like we need to like, and let's focus in on this Y chain. Rotation Y, I believe, is rotation pitch is what we were editing just now. Yes, it was pitch. And like we're gonna grab all of these guys, and then we're gonna just pick it up or down however dramatically we want is based on like where we're going. So like something like that, right? You don't want to mess with the timing. You gotta be careful about that. So there are ways to keep yourself from doing that in this editor. So here we go. See, so now we've got like, we've got a little bit more evenness when it comes to our hands being in like the same plane. We've lowered it a little bit. You can still see that glitch I made. So that gives you an idea of the flexibility of Control Rig, right? Like nobody wants to hand animate everything from scratch. That's not great. So let's talk about what's going on underneath the hood. This is my demonstration. This is me doing some like pretty minimal effort mocap. What's actually going on under the hood? So I'm gonna grab my control rigs here. I can have a bunch of different ones at this point, but this forward and reverse rig is what I'm using. Now, sometimes when you see these, when someone does a demo for control rig, you end up seeing a bunch of code everywhere. Control rig is powered by code. That's something you got to know. In other programs, you're just going to be like assigning shapes to things and moving them around. In control rig, you have to do that. And you also have to set everything up so that it is powered by all of this code so that things are hooked up to each other. Now, this is my super speedy version of control rig. It's not the most optimized code in the world in terms of code efficiency, but this is what I'm using. So I'm going to take this apart a little bit for you here, and like I'm going to unhook everything, and then I'm going to just kind of do a little bit of basics stuff. We could also start from scratch. That's a better idea. Let's do that. So I'm going to grab my character here. I'm going to click him. I'm going to press Command B, and I'm going to go to create. And it used to be like up in this menu, if you're familiar with like how it was in Unreal 4, but now it's like over here. You can press create control rig. And if Unreal doesn't crash, it's a great day. All right. I think it's right here. Yep. So control rig is also a plugin, by the way. If you haven't gotten it to work and you're not seeing, like if you're right clicking and you're not seeing create control rig, you need to go back into plugins and you need to find that thing. So let's start, right? Let's make something. So the easiest way to get started in control rig is to make new controls and pair them. So let's start from scratch. Like let's make a brand new control. We'll go new control. We've got a brand new one that starts at the beginning of the world. We'll just name it our first control. And we can drag and drop it and we can get code for it. And then we can like grab a bone and we can move it to the control rig. So let's grab like our left hand. So we're gonna, in this case, we're gonna press set bone. So that's gonna set the transform. So then we start it. We're gonna have like, we're going to have a problem, and you're going to see in just a second. But this is like typically how this process starts, is connecting bones to bones. Now you'll notice that I've created a really janky setup here. Why? Because we have just used code to tell Unreal, take this bone and put it with this control. So then you can move the control and it can be back where it's supposed to be. However, when we press compile again, it's right back where we started, which is no good. Now, there's an easy way to do this, which is to get the control the way we want, and then we can press, set, offset, transform from current. And now when we press compile again, it's in the right place. Now, there's a lot wrong with what I just did. I'm teaching you the wrong way, but the least confusing way. We would never want to do this. Why? Because like if we're doing this every single time, it's gonna take a while. So we're gonna have to write the code, but if we have to move the control to the right place and move it back and forth and press all these little arrows and stuff like that, that's gonna drive us nuts. And then it just seems like a big pain. So I'm gonna show you the really easy way to do this. The best thing we can do here is I'm going to go to our offset here and I'm going to reset so that, we still have our little ball here just for reference, but I can grab everything that I want to make a control rig of. I can grab all of these parts, clavicle. I might not grab everything here that I would grab. Clavicle, I might forget a step, because this is complicated and we're doing this as a demonstration live on the internet. And then we're gonna grab these bones seem important here. Yeah. Do we have our neck and our head? Yeah, this is most of what we would use. So we're gonna go to new, and under Python scripts here, we're gonna add controls for selected. So we're gonna click on that, and then suddenly, underneath our pelvis control here, we have a whole new set of hierarchy for controls. And you can see they mirror the way the bones are set up, which is really nice. And like, if that sounds like voodoo magic to you, just know that like we pressed 2 clicks and it made things work nice. So from here, we can take things, and you notice like also they're all in the proper place. Also, am I occluding the hierarchy here? No, you can see, okay, that's good. And we can start doing things to like, en masse to fix things faster. So like we can grab all of the get controls here all at once, and then they're all on the board at the same time. And we can do the same thing, go back and select all the important bones to us, go back through, grab everything, and then we can set them all. And then, we can start wiring this up and we can go much faster. Now, even that though, kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. And we're going to talk about ways to make that even more efficient a little bit later if we don't run out of time. So the other thing I want to talk about is just like the way you can grab all of this stuff and change it. So like I have the ability to change the shapes here. So like I have a whole library of different shapes. So those of you who are animators who are familiar with Control Rig, you're thinking like, when's the part where we make the things nice to click on? And this is the part where we make the things nice to click on. So like I'll start with like box thick. So here's like, these boxes are pretty clickable. Like we got something here. Seems like we forgot a couple controls. An important part of this process, making sure you have everything selected before you get started. Box thick. Seems like I'm missing a hand. Yep. You got to make sure everything's untwirled when you're doing this part, but when you're selecting everything, now we'll go box thick here. And there we've got just about everything. Now we can click on this, but it's still not as nice as we'd like. And also the colors are all weird. So like I have synesthesia, so I have like shape and color associations with things. So like if I get I get these guys here, I want everything that's going to be on my right side to be like an orangey red here. Not red, so I don't get confused. And everything that's going to be on my left, I'm going to want to select it, and I'm going to want it to be blue. Now, I don't typically use boxes. I typically like circles, so I will do something more like that. The clavicles, I will do something else entirely. But you can see I can't even access my spine bones in here, right? So, like, we need a better way to do that. So I'm going to grab thick circle. And they're weird. Oh, no. They're all weird. So what do? We can actually change the transform for the spines themselves. It's better to these editors, it's usually better to just sort of dial things in. So like I'm just going to reset everything, and then I'm going to hit like a 90. It's the wrong axis. So 90. Let's again here reset, and now everything's flat on its side, which is like what I want. So I'm going to make everything bigger. I'm going to go like 3, 3, 3, and you can see I have something to click on now. But like, let's make it taller. Can I make the, can make this like a 7, and then it's got something nice and thick here. I like my centers yellow for some reason. It's another synesthetic thing. Like I just kind of have certain like urges towards certain shapes. And like we'll probably have to go in and fix a few things. Like what is this one? This is our clavicle. Oh, we accidentally selected this. I didn't actually really want to use that way. So, mistakes will be made in the process. But what we've got here is something we can animate with. So let's go back to this. We're going to rename this. I'm going to name this Off World Tutorial Rig. And of course, Unreal doesn't like spaces. Dang it! I wasn't born yesterday, Unreal. I know you don't like spaces in your nomenclature here. So I'm gonna go back into our character here in our sequence, and I'm gonna delete all of this stuff happening with the rig. I'm just gonna delete it, cancel it out. So it's gone, and now I've got this thing. So I've got my. I'm gonna kill my animation here too, so we have a blank thing, like we're just, like starting from blank. So I'm gonna grab a control rig, and I'm gonna go to control rig based asset, and then somewhere in here, off-world tutorial rig, right? Okay, so our control rig shows up. That's great. However, nothing's working, so we forgot to use the code, because what did I say? We got to use code to make this thing happen. Now we can go back into our control rig editor here. And I should get rid of this for sure. And we could go back through and wire this thing up, but one, that's going to take us forever. And two, I don't want to do that for the rest of my stream. And you already saw my earlier control rig, and you saw that this forward reverse one. And you can see that I have only this much code running on this. So what's going on here? So what I'm doing is I'm making lists of all the bones, and I'm telling Unreal to pair my list of my bones with my list of controls. So, and if this is sort of like the advanced parts here. So if I've lost you, like hang with me. Like this is meant to be an overview. If you're already using control rig, this is a lifesaver. But if you have not started using it yet, I can see why this would get a little tricky. So I have these rig array elements, and I have everything lined up in them to be just so. And if the effect of this is that everything is 1-to-1, so that my spine bone is connected to my spine control. I'm getting that transform, and I'm setting that transform afterwards. It's not really complicated. It's as simple as if we went back in here and we found our pelvis control and put it with our pelvis bone. So I'll give you an example of that. So if I'm out here, I have now hooked up my pelvis bone. I can now rotate my character because that's the pelvis. So for those of you who are more advanced with control rig, the way to do this I have found is to make these lists and do for each. Now I've seen other tutorials where people will use a for each method, but they will use like lookups on names and stuff, and it's a little bit inefficient. The way I'm doing it is I am like finding my lists here, making sure they're 1-to-1, and then making sure the indices are the same. So 0 and 0 always line up, 1 and 1 always line up. And that way, with this code, I'm hooking everything up perfectly every time. Now, let's talk about forwards and backwards, right? So like when I'm doing motion capture, I have to get the control rig information in. I can't just adapt it from control rig. So I also have a backwards solve that actually reverses the process, so that when we have an animation asset get converted, again, if you lost me here, just hang with me. I'm pretty much at the point where we can do a little Q&A. We have the same list of bones, but we've reversed the lists so that the controls are being set by the bone placements, because when we have animation assets, all the bones already know where to go. We don't need to use control rig to tell them where to go. So this is my way of doing like an entire rig. I have an upcoming video about this that I'll be posting to YouTube, about more specifically about this process and about how I'm using this by default for my FK rigs when I'm starting from scratch these days. So that's mostly it. I think I'm to the point where I'm happy to answer some questions if we want to do any Q&A here. Oh, hey, nice, man. Great. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Oh no. Oh, oh no, yeah. It's a struggle. Oh, hey, Gloria. What's your question? Oh, oh yeah. Um, I don't know MediaPipe. I will say that I own several pieces of motion capture equipment. That's something else I'm working on. Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like a machine learning. That's I mean, that sounds cool. Like, I would love for you to send me a link about that. I have not tried that yet. But what I will say is that, like, the Magic Leap is just like one tool in my arsenal. The thing that's nice about the Magic Leap is I can just kind of plug it in and go. It's really nice for my VTuber setup here, where like hold on, let me plug it back into the other computer. It's really nice when I'm just like live and I don't want to think about stuff, and I don't want to like plug in another system. Like, I just want to, I just want to be live, like I'm interviewing somebody or something, and like I don't want to mess with that. I don't want to like. That's cool. I'm very curious about that. No, I've actually not heard of that. Yeah, I do own a pair of Rococo gloves, and those are pretty nice. So I think that yeah, they are. It's not for the faint of heart, for certain, buying mocap equipment by any means. So so this, like, the thing about this though. Ha, that would be cool. Yeah, I think that sounds like a job for control rig. Basically, and this is what's cool about control rig and why specifically we're thinking control rig is, like, anytime that we get data from something and then we can port that over through a motion capture animation blueprint powered by control rig onto the character, we can then record that, and then we can convert it to keyframes if we want to, which to me, this like changes everything. It's friggin' wild. So I'm all about that. Does anybody else have any other questions? This is Oh, perfect. Yeah, you could. So on my channel, I have a number of different unorthodox mocap solution videos. So I have like one video I did was a video on how to use the Unreal has a node called Get Mouse on platform, which you can use to get mocap from your mouse. and if you're using it in conjunction with like either a Leap Motion or like a just an iPhone or a mouse, then you could take the XY data from the mouse and you could feed it into a system control. I don't think we actually used control rig in that video, but you could feed it to control rig and then use control rig with like an IK function to like you make the mouse give you some mocap back, which is really, really cool. The thing about that's tricky and is interesting. A lot of the tutorials I have up, I don't really talk that much about control rig, partially because if you're doing a simple IK, Unreal's like more general application for this is Animation Blueprint, and control rig runs inside of Animation Blueprint, so you can just use a 2-bone IK node in Animation Blueprint, which is killer. So like that's great. Anything we can feed data though, we can use these systems. So like I have a video where I show people how to set up a VTuber setup using the Oculus Quest, which I do not recommend to people anymore. And it's a crazy video, and I learned a lot of things, and it was like kind of a pain in the butt. It's not a great system, but like somebody asked me the question, can you do VTubing with the Quest? And I was like, let's find out. So, but it's like, it's flexible. Once you learn sort of the base skills for moving mocap data into control rig, into Animation Blueprint, into whatever you want, you can kind of start to think around corners and like make your own mocap from scratch and all that stuff, which is a joy, which you're going to be able to talk about with Mega Steak Man coming up soon when he does his little shindig. Everything I do in control rig like pales in comparison to what Mega Steak Man does, but I thought you guys would find this workflow fascinating, because typically, and the reason why this is all significant is like typically if you're like a Blender animator, you're going to use like another program to like get your animation in, and then you're going to take that out as like an FBX file, and you're going to import that FBX file, and then you're going to retarget that FBX file to your character, and then you're going to like have to mess with all of the retargeted animation and stuff, and it's going to take you all day to do that stuff. Whereas you saw within the span of an hour, I could put my hands up on the leap motion, and I could convert that all into keyframes in real time, and I could see exactly what it was doing, and I could see the whole render, and that's wild. Wow, I'm losing my breath. I'm a little too excited. I think that's it for me, unless anyone's got anything else. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah. Rick, if you're all right. Yeah, it's funny, right? Because this is all new tech. Like, I'm not even good at it yet. Like, at some point, this will be like an art form, and I'll tell you the exact right sequencer settings and the exact right compression and keyframe reduction and stuff like that. This is like a new process, and like to my knowledge, like it's never been possible before, the use of game engines for these things to be able to just like do mocap, do animation all in the same place. Yeah. Come back and watch that one. Watch him do it better than me. That'll be great. You'll love it. He's great. He's a great guy. I'm excited about that. I'll watch that talk, and I'll learn how to make the next time I do this talk better. Yeah. So if anyone wants to join me, so like, I'm like sort of I'm the lerp for those of you who are familiar with a lerp joke. I'm like the lerp between someone like Mega Steak Man and someone like Riku VR. So like, as interested as I am in animation, I'm also really interested in creating really interactive VTuber experiences. So like, I'm going to be going live on my channel right now after we're done here, and I'm going to be just doing like a hangout and work stream where I'm going to be building some of my Twitch integrations, which is going to be pretty fun. So hopefully we'll get that working for chat, and everybody can start chatting, and like you can ragdoll me and stuff like that. We're gonna set up some of that stuff, and maybe I'll have a little time to fix some of my VR code as well. But thank you, Rick, so much for having me. It's been cool to do this with you guys. Yeah, for sure, y'all. So if you want to catch me, I'll be going live like right about now on Twitch TV, and like give me like 5 minutes actually. But you can catch me on Twitch TV/WoodyDevs. You can also follow me on Twitter or on YouTube, where I'm I keep experimenting with all this stuff. So thanks, y'all. All right, see ya.